Well, it sure has been a year. A year in which I played games. And now I'm going to talk about some of the more memorable games that I played. Okay? Cool. The first game that left an sizable impact on me was probably Bowser's Fury, and I'm just talking about Bowser's Fury because it's definitely not grafted onto 3D World like some horrible tumour. It's more like they grafted on an extra leg or something useful like a zip. Yeah, no, I don't actually have much to say about this except it was cool and I hope more stuff is done like this in the future by Nintendo, and it's possibly the only game this year I 100%ed and it took me like 4 or 5 hours. Just goes to show how much patience I have. The next notable game I played I technically haven't even beat yet, but if I wasn't playing other games I would definitely go back and do a few more runs of Hades and try finish off the story. But I only ran through the game twice and I still had a delightful time, so you know. If you already know about Hades, you probably know about the stupid amounts of quality dialogue they crammed in it, so I'm not going to talk about it, and I'm just gonna say because of this game I'm now a roguelike fan and I'm currently playing Enter the Gungeon. Thanks. Now, here's my undisputed Game of the Year, Hollow Knight. I know that was so unexpected. I bet no one ever saw that coming. I've made multiple videos on this game, and because one of these videos I actually made a friend, StillyClan, go check him out, he's cool, I did a collab with him. So instead of losing friends because I talk about games too much, I actually gained one this time. Although now my friends run away from me if I even mention Hollow Knight. What else? Oh, yeah, the actual game. It's not flawless, but my god, it's the closest to it I'll ever experience. It's just the right level of difficulty, but I think it may have ruined some other games for me because I found Metroid Dread too easy. I'm like this close to becoming a Dark Souls fan and actually playing the game, unlike most Dark Souls fans who give up after the first level. The game's lore also kept me engaged long after I stopped playing and eventually inspired me to make my own really dumb theories about the game. I love this game, and I sound like the most pretentious little shit saying this, but this game's genuinely improved my life. Not majorly, but it has. Okay, now that's over, on to some other games, which I won't embarrass myself as much by talking about. Pikmin 3 Deluxe is a lovely, charming experience, and it's now made me a Pikmin fan, and possibly the only real-time strategy game I have played and enjoyed. If you can even consider it a real-time strategy game. The game's such a strange mix of ideas, I'm amazed it even functions, never mind is this good. The combat does feel a bit clunky at times, but that might sort of be the point, I'm not sure, and I think the difficulty could be higher, although I am now playing it on a different difficulty, but I still think bosses could be easier. Most of these issues are minor and they aren't close to deal breakers for me, so yeah, game fun. I'm not actually sure which one of these I played before the other, but the next two games are Bioshock and Deltarune Chapter 2. First, I'll just talk about Bioshock. It's a cool game, I love the aesthetic, even if the graphics are a bit dated. The 50s, 60s architecture, but underwater, is like 2000 Leagues Under the Sea. I don't know, I've never actually read the book, but I just assume Bioshock is what it looks like. I also love how Bioshock 1 is sort of like Rapture. Rapture is the place where the game takes place. It's sort of like Rapture is having an apocalypse, or during the apocalypse, and that's been brought about by uncontrolled capitalism. And in 2, it's like post-apocalyptic and most people now support a communist. It's really well handled and the audio logs are just the best thing in terms of environmental storytelling and just storytelling. The logs sort of act like a record of Rapture's downfall from the people living in Rapture, and it brings you back down to earth because most are just from ordinary citizens with their own views. Oh, and the gameplay is okay. I really like the ideas of the big daddies or bouncers, whatever you want to call them. They create such terror in the early game, but they can also be a really powerful weapon. This was also the first-person shooter I fully played, and well, yeah, it's good. It has plenty of flaws, but it's still good. Also, for some reason, I expected the final boss to be kind of bad and janky because the game doesn't really do that well when you have just one strong enemy. It generally does better when you're fighting with hordes or working your way around stronger enemies. but the final boss was okay, passable, if a bit underwhelming. Now, Rune Delta 2 chapter. I've already made a video on this and I don't really have much to say about it, so I'm just going to move on to Gungeon the Enter. I have been playing Enter the Gungeon on and off for some time now, and I've only made it to floor 5, because the game is hard. Where you can also roll in this game, and oh my god, it's just like Dark. Nope, not beating that dead horse for a joke, never mind. I think the best part about this game is it knows it's a game, and it knows it is the dumbest shit you'll ever play. And yet it still manages to have lore as deep as Hollow. You see this little gelatin motherfucker right here? He's part of an old empire which has most likely committed war crimes. And all he does is, like, squelch menacingly towards you. The game has a fun and light-hearted, goofy feel to it overall, which makes it all the worse when it absolutely beats your ass, because as I said, it's hard. Also, it has ridiculous amounts of stuff in it. I haven't even experienced half of what the game has to offer. The only problem is it does get a bit too monotonous for me if I play for too long, especially as I get further into the game. So that's why I've been playing it on and off. Alright now, Dead Cells. It's a game I don't actually own. I just have a friend who does, and we take turns doing runs in it. It's an incredibly fun roguelike, and it doesn't suffer from the same problems as Gungeon, where I get bored after a while, because it's constantly throwing new and cool shit at you with a Metroidvania-like progression. The Metroidvania progression is kind of like parallel to the normal roguelike progression, and there's tons of areas locked behind that progression. Each area has its own new cool gimmick as well, which is really cool. Like this one, for example. Its gimmick is fucking you over with this thing. Well, I think that's everything except Metroid Dread, which was really cool, I guess, but I don't actually have much to say about it, except I thought it was too easy. Apart from that... Oh yeah, virtual reality. I got headset for Christmas and... Wait, okay, so the script here is just literally keyboard spam, because I can't really communicate how amazing it is yet, and it makes you feel like an absolute badass though, even though you look stupid. But I can't really say much about it here, so I'll do more on VR in the future when I can collect my thoughts on it and such.